Etrexo family, was good? Yama Trades coming with another video. As you can see, we're doing it a little different for the intro. Coming with a little introduction before we jump to the charts, just to kind of give you a update on what we're actually doing. Hopefully you like the aesthetics, the ambiance is in the right mode for you guys. But today I want to talk to you guys about how to draw support and resistance like professionals do in the market, right? Support and resistance, probably one of the most important things that you need to focus on, or you need to have in your toolbox when trading, simply because it's areas in the market that show you where price can reverse or can continue to move from. So I'm not going to do too long of an introduction. I know the last video is a pretty long introduction, so we're going to go ahead and jump straight to the charts. If you guys have any questions, any concerns, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so that you're updated when I do drop new videos. And let's get straight to it. All right, so now that we're on the screen, we're looking at Euro Odd. I just pulled this chart up simply because it's just a nice, it's very smooth when it comes to support and resistance. When it taps, it respects support and resistance very well. So I pulled this up so that you guys can get an understanding for what a smooth chart looks like, and then we'll jump to a currency pair that I personally trade and look at, so you guys can see how I mark up support and resistance, right? So right now we're looking at the 4-hour time frame. And then as you can see from a larger perspective, you see that price has came down to an area. It created a double bottom and then started to move up, but now it's just moving sideways. It's really not doing anything. It's just moving sideways. Now, some of you guys will say, I don't trade ranging markets. I only trade markets that are in clear uptrends and downtrends. And that works, right? But when you have larger time frames, such as the 4-hour, if you are scaling down to a smaller time frame, such as the 30-minute, 15-minute for entries, you can find a lot of opportunities within a ranging market just by drawing out support and resistance. So what I'm gonna do here first is I'm gonna take my square tool, my rectangle tool, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look for the first touch of the area. So we have the first touch here, a second touch here, and then I'm gonna draw it out into the future, right? So right here we have what can be considered an area of support. Why? Because it touched, it tapped again, it tapped again, it tapped again. So this is a very, very, very strong area of support. Now, before I move forward, you guys should all know what support and resistance is. Think of support as the floor of your house, right? It supports you up, and you shouldn't be falling through the floor. Now, every once in a while, if you touch a certain spot on the floor, let's say you're in an old home and you're jumping in one spot over and over and over and over again, eventually what's gonna happen? The floor is gonna break and you're gonna fall through it. But for the most part, if you're walking on the floor, you shouldn't fall through the floor. It should keep you supported. Now, resistance, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. It is the ceiling. So we have two taps here, and it will pull it out into the future. And resistance acts like the ceiling. So if I were to throw a ball up to the ceiling, what's going to happen? The ceiling or the roof, or the ceiling is going to, bounce the ball back down to the ground. Now, if you do that enough, like the floor, eventually you're going to put a hole through the ceiling, and the ball is going to go through the ceiling. But for the most part, the ceiling should respect you throwing the ball up, and it should come back down to you. So we have these two levels created. So we have support here and we have resistance here, and now we're in this range. Now we can clearly see what's happening. Price is, as you can see here, it's coming down into this area, and then what's happening, it's pushing up, and then it's coming to this area. And then what's happening, it's pushing down, and then it's coming to this area, and then it's pushing up, and then it's coming back down up to this area right here, right? So we see all of this taking place on the chart. So what do we do as traders? We look at these areas for opportunities to buy and sell the market. Now, we don't just buy once price gets up into this area, or sell, we don't sell when price gets up into this area, or buy once price gets down into this area. We look for multiple areas of confluence. So here is, you can just see one right now of confluence. So we have what could be considered a double top, followed by a bearish engulfing. So this will signal we have three areas of confluence, right? So we have resistance, that's one, right? Because even if we were to pull this into the past, right, we had support, price broke through it, and now it's created resistance. So this is a strong area right in this region here. So we have a double top, right, followed by, let me pull my zoom tool. Where is my zoom tool? Here we go. Right, so we have a double top, boom, boom, right, followed by a bearish engulfing, and then we had this confirmation candle. So we could have either took the trade here, right at this region here, with stops right above the previous highs, right? So right above that region here, and then we're targeting, let's say 1 to 2. We do a 1 to 2, or we could target a 1 to 3, right? So 1 to 3, right down here in this region. Now, would this have played out in our favor? Let's see. It would have, but this would have took so long for this to play out. And that's the reason why we dropped down to smaller time frames to look for sniper entries. Sniper entries, that's going to be a video I'm going to do later, just to give you guys a whole breakdown on that, because that does take some time to understand and to play out completely, right? So this video is just solely looking at support and resistance. So that's on a 4-hour time frame, and there's support and resistance at multiple time frames. Every time frame has support and resistance. If I were to drop down to the 1-hour time frame, we can find support and resistance, right? So right here, I see a double bottom, right? 1, 2. So let's take our tool. Let's drag it out into the future. And what do we have? We have a tap, a tap, a tap. We have a multiple taps, consolidation, a breakthrough, and then now it's acting as resistance, and now we're stuck in this region here. So this is most recent price, right? Right in this region here. This is most recent price. So we have an area of support that then converted over. Now it's acting as an area of resistance, right? So price eventually broke above that area, and there was just a false breakout because it consolidated and broke back down. But now guess what's happening? If we look here, we see price has broke the support that was acting as support since June of 2020. So now that we're below support, what could we be looking for? We could be looking for price to come back into this region here and then turn around to make new lows. Now, will price make new lows? We don't know, because we're not fortune tellers. But based off of what price is doing at this very current moment, we can say that price comes into this area. If it gives me some type of bearish signal, so 3 levels of confluence, stating that price is going to move lower, I will take the sell based off of the confluences that I see on the chart, right? So this is just one pair, right? Support and resistance on just one chart. Now let's look at a different chart, for instance. Let's go to GJ. All right, let's remove everything. And this is the pair that I typically trade. This is the one that I trade. I love this pair. So let's look here. So we have just right here in recent price action, we have a top, a second top, and then let's draw it out into the future. So here to here, boom. Right? Let's pull it back. Let's see if we got more touches. So boom, perfect. We drew it out. We have support in this region, right? And then let's look up at the top. So we have a tap here, and then we have some touches here. So let's draw this out here. Boom. So we have price form resistance here, right? Pushed down, came back, acted as resistance here, came all the way down here, broke through that resistance, came up here in this region, got stuck. So we had resistance, pushed down, resistance, pushed down, and then eventually broke above, created some form of support right there in this lower region, broke below, formed support here, finally broke below, then formed resistance, some more resistance, some more resistance, some more resistance, eventually broke above, came up to this region, which was resistance in the past, came down here, formed support, resistance, and then we had this consolidation just right here in this region here. But as you can see, we have the area, the support area that's being respected, and then it came back up into this resistance area. So what could we potentially see? Price to come back down here and either form some type of double bottom to continue higher into this like 140 region, right? But like I said before, you know, we can predict what we think the market is going to do, but none of us are psychics. We don't know exactly what the market is going to do. So that's why we look for levels of confluence to check off or sign off on our bias. So if I'm sell biased, I don't want to just take a sell right now. I want multiple levels of confluence. I want to see price doing multiple things. I want to see it resisting, respecting this resistance area. I want to see bearish engulfings. I want to see double tops. I want to see price moving below the moving averages, right? I want to see all of that taking place on the chart to signal and let me know that, okay, if you're bearish, price is going to move in your favor because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 levels of confluence, right? Now we could drop down to a lower time frame, such as the 1 hour time frame, and find more levels, right? So we have another level created right here. So price came down here into this region, created support, and then pushed up and created resistance. And then came back down into this region right here, created support, pushed back up, respected support, pushed back up, respected support, and then eventually broke through that area of support, right? So the more touches you have on a level, the stronger it becomes, right? So you just want to be mindful though, the stronger it is, the harder the push out of that area will become. Because if it was just, let's say this was respected and then this price came up and then pushed down, 9 times out of 10, this breakout to the downside wouldn't be as powerful. It may break below and then the next candle break and then it continues. But as you can see here, we have a very strong push through this region, followed by another very, very, very strong bearish candlestick down to this second region here. So you always want to be mindful if a level is being respected 2, 3, 4 times, the push out of that area is always going to be very, very, very tense, very strong, right? So you always want to be mindful of that. Now, let's drop down to an even smaller time frame, to a 30-minute time frame. So we have multiple levels, right? So I can just see one right here in this region. We have an area right here. It tapped here. It's got some consolidation here. It's tapping right in this region. So if I were to take my rectangle tool, draw it across, we have resistance. Now create a support. We have a little gap. We have some more support. It broke through, came back up, respected resistance, broke above. Now it's creating support. Pushed up, came back down, created support, broke below. Now it's creating resistance. And then we have more resistance in this region here. So this is another level that makes sense. If you would have, before any of this price action took place, if we drew that box out into the future and we just allowed that to be an area that we're watching for, we could have waited for price to push into that area, right? Look for an opportunity to sell from that area and potentially took a sell, stops above previous highs, and done some type of 1 to 3, right? Now, will price play out like that? Nobody knows. Why? Because price is still playing out the way it needs to play out. This is not financial advice, so please be sure you're not taking this trade setup that I just, analyzed. I didn't fully do a deep down analyzation on this pair here, so do not take this setup. I'm telling you right now, if you take this setup, 100% of the time you are going to lose your money. So let's get rid of all of this here. And one thing to keep in mind when you're dealing with support and resistance, right? So let's go to a clear screen right here. So we have support and we have resistance, or excuse me, take that back. We have resistance and we have support, right? There are 3 different types of taps that will still confirm an area being support and resistance, right? So the first type of tap, price comes to that area, pushes away. This would be considered a tap, right? And then we have our second type of tap, touch. Price pushes below, comes out of that region, right? And then we have our third type of touch, right? So we have a clear tap of support, we have an overlap of support, and then we also have a gap of support. These are all confirmations. As long as price is coming down to this zone here, it's not a standard price. So it's not just 138.69.3, it's a zone. So as long as price is coming down into the zone and it's pushing away, it confirms as a level of support. And the same works for resistance. So if these were turned around the opposite direction and they were actually tapping up here like such, so we have these three would also confirm as a tap, an overlap, and a gap. So you want to be mindful of all of this here. So when you're looking at zones and areas, just because a zone is overlapped or a zone is gapped, it doesn't clearly touch, does not mean that that area is not confirmed. It's still confirmed just because you have that area marked out. As long as price is coming down to that area and then it's pushing away from that area and not breaking through that area and continuing down or continuing up, it's a confirmation. So you can utilize these three different tactics or these three different touches to confirm your support and resistance when you're marking it up on your charts. And this is just one tool out of, let's say, 5 to 10 pieces that you may use. You may use RSI, you may use moving averages, you may use price action. There's so much trend lines, there's so much different things that you can use in conjunction with support and resistance, but be sure that you're utilizing support and resistance because it will become very, very, very helpful in the future when predicting price in the direction that price may move after it has reached an area. So this is a video that I put together on support and resistance. This is typically how most traders will mark up their charts, what they'll do and how they find these zones in the market when they're trading or looking for opportunities to trade. Be sure that you're looking at your charts, you're back testing, you're studying your pairs, and you're utilizing what you just learned in this video and applying it to the real markets. Like I said in the beginning of the video, please go ahead and like, subscribe, turn that notification on so that you're updated when I do release new videos like such. If you guys have any questions, concerns, go ahead and leave a comment and we'll get straight to it. Peace.